What is up, football fans? Man, it's hard to believe it's week 10, but it is week 10 of the NFL season, and today we're going to talk about the games. Follow along. All right, folks. So let's start with the game that's going on right now as we speak. Currently at the moment, and I'm sure it'll be different when this video uploads. It's 10-0 Carolina leading the Giants in Munich, Germany. I joked this morning that Germany deserves better than this matchup of 2-7 teams. Carolina right now getting the best of the Giants. Giants started off good for the most part defensively this season. Defense still not terrible in this game, but offensively, that's brutal. Man, I tell you, Daniel Jones going to be a backup quarterback next year for sure. I think most people like the Giants in this game, but it ain't looking too good. It's early in the third quarter, but it's 10-0 over in Munich. All right, so let's check out the 12 o'clock / 1 o'clock Eastern starts. Start with the New England Patriots visiting the Chicago Bears. Bears, a 6-point favorite here. Caleb Williams and the Bears been kind of stuck in the mud the past 2 weeks after a 4-2 start. They battled back well in the Washington game and should have won it, of course. And Jaden Daniels, the amazing Hail Mary. And then last week they got thumped by the Arizona Cardinals. The Patriots coming in 2-7. We know it's a rough season for them. Drake May's been kind of in and out. He got injured a couple times. He came back last week, and that was 2 weeks ago. They picked up the win over the Jets. Last week they lost. 6 points is the Bears not playing great, especially after last week. But I would expect them to win that game by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I would expect them to win by a touchdown at home. Buffalo Bills 7-2 going on the road to take on the 4-5 Indianapolis Colts. Buffalo 4.5-point favorite. Buffalo eked out a win against the division rivals, the Dolphins, last week. Indianapolis coming in. Joe Flacco looked bad last week. It was the whole big ordeal about putting him in over Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was playing awful, and the fact that he subbed himself out of the game because he was tired. Colts offensively did not look any better last week with Flacco. We know Flacco can air the ball out down the field. They're at home, Buffalo 7-2. I would honestly take Indianapolis in the points, but I think Buffalo wins this game by 3 or 4 points. But at 4.5, if I was betting it, I would bet Indianapolis. But I expect Josh Allen, Buffalo, to find a way to win this game by 3 or 4. Next game on the docket, division rivals here. Denver Broncos visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Chiefs are 8-0, and they don't usually cover point spreads. They seem to never cover point spreads. Last week going to overtime and picking up a win against an injury-riddled Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. But again, they pick up the win. They always find a way to win. Patrick Mahomes not having his best year, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Going into last week, I think he had 8 straight games with a pick. He didn't throw one last week, and good thing for him and the Chiefs because that might have been the tipping point since that game went to overtime. Broncos here, they got embarrassed last week against the Baltimore Ravens after being on a hot streak. Broncos currently hold the last playoff spot. I would expect the Chiefs to keep winning here, but I would expect the Broncos to keep this game closer than 7.5. Because the Chiefs, they usually don't cover, even though I know D-Hop's making that offense better, and we know the defense is great. So take Denver on the point line, and I think Kansas City wins close. The Atlanta Falcons versus the home-standing New Orleans Saints, who just recently fired Dennis Allen. We all saw that coming after losing to Carolina. By the way, the Giants just scored a touchdown on a 10-play, 65-yard drive, 10-7 now. Carolina, but Dennis Allen fired. Saints here at home, 3.5-point underdog at home to Atlanta. I think they can keep this game within a field goal, maybe even 2 to 1 points. Close game. I think Kirk Chains and Atlanta's the side is going to win because they're just a better team. Kirk O's having a great year. think the Saints are going to keep it close, though. The Saints got a new coach. You know, there's something about when a team gets a new coach, an interim coach or whatever in there, they get a little boost for a game or two. Just like sometimes when they switch quarterbacks, they get a little boost. I think the Saints get that boost here. But I'm still thinking Falcons win really close. 3.5, I would bet Saints if I was betting it, which I'm not. San Francisco against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, man, they may have emptied out the tank in that Kansas City game. They put everything into that game. When you're out your two best receivers, Baker Mayfield's still playing good football, though, almost 2,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I mean, that's a really good football. He's on pace to go for over 40 touchdown passes this year. Though those top two receivers out and may slow that pace down, at least I would think it would. CMC is back for the 49ers. All right. So the 49ers are getting healthy at the right time. They've been injury riddled. 6.5-point favorite on the road. Oh, this is a hard one to pick because I know Baker Mayfield and Tampa's going to come out and play hard, look to save their season, get back to 500 here. But I think with CMC back and a little boost of being a little more healthier, that might be enough to string the 49ers to a win by over 6.5 on the road. I think it's going to be a competitive game for the most part, however, so I'm not expecting it to be a blowout by any means. Yeah, so I am expecting this to be a good game, but I would probably take the 49ers. Okay, we got Pittsburgh going on the road to Washington Commanders. Should be an excellent football game. 6-2 Steelers, 7-2 Commanders. Commanders are 2-point favorite at home. Pittsburgh, of course, led by dominant defense again, and give Russ his props. Russ has played well since taking over for Pittsburgh. On the road, Jaden Daniels, monster rookie year, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, not for a rookie, for anyone. Give Washington the advantage of being at home. They're a 2-point favorite. I would bet Washington, obviously to cover and obviously to win the game. I think this is a field goal to a 7-point game. Another close game. I like the Commanders. The Minnesota Vikings going against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the last game from the 12 o'clock/1 Eastern window. Jaguars only 2-7. Vikings 6-2. I would say that Jacksonville's better than that record indicates, and they're going to be competitive. But Mac Jones is starting this game because Trevor Lawrence is injured, and he hadn't been all that great anyway. But certainly it's a downgrade to have to go to Mac and Roe Jones. And Vikings, they rode the ship last week. Wrote the ship last week after losing 2 straight. Came out, got that dub against Indianapolis on Thursday night. So Justin Jefferson is eating. Aaron Jones. Yeah, I like Minnesota in this game. I don't like 7-point spreads because this could easily be a 7-point game. This is one I would stay away from if I was betting it completely because I don't like 7-point spreads because I can see a push. But I think Minnesota takes care of business. And if you are going to bet this one, I think Minnesota's the side to play. The Tennessee Titans, this is in the 3 o'clock/4 o'clock window at 4:05 Eastern. Tennessee Titans going on the road to play the Chargers. Man, Jim Harbaugh's doing a good job with that team. They're playing well on defense. Justin Herbert struggled early, but he's silencing the critics. He's playing really well on offense, and he's not turning the ball over. He's got 10 touchdowns and 1 measly interception. So running the ball well, playing good defense. Justin Herbert not turning the ball over. Ladd McConkey, the rookie, stepping up. So the receiving core looks weak, but coming into the season, it's looking pretty decent right now for Justin Herbert and the boys, and he's getting healthy. I like the Chargers to cover 8.5. I don't care if Will Levis is coming back from injury, and he is after missing a couple games. I think the Chargers are just a much better team than the Titans. And at 6-3 with a win, they're starting to solidify their playoff hopes. I think that would be 3, or would it be 4 in a row? Well, Carolina just broke a good run. I'm kind of looking in the background of this game. I don't know why, because it's pretty crappy. But anyway, on to the next game. Philadelphia Eagles, 7.5-point favorite on the road against Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. So it is expected that Dak Prescott is not going to play again this season. Cowboys pretty much punting on the year. They're 3-5. That's 5 losses of the same number of losses they've had the previous 3 years, I believe. So they're not going 12-5 this year. Philadelphia on the road, 7.5, I think is a high number because I think Cooper Rush is a good quarterback, actually. I don't think he's anything really that special, but I think he's a good, at least borderline good, average or so, and maybe slightly above average. I think Cooper Rush can play. He's 5-1 in his numbers of starting. We'll see because he should have a lot more than 5 and 6 starts closing out the year because they got 9 more games left, 10 more, 9 more. So I think with CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys desperately need to get the run game going. But we know Sirianni is the type of coach. He'll keep the opposing team in the game with some of his decisions. Jalen Hurts has done good without turning the ball over lately because he was known as a turnover machine, but hasn't really been turning it over lately. Saquon has been fantastic this year for the Eagles. But at the end of the day, when the Eagles play these games, they oftentimes tend to dominate and then find a way to keep the opponents in the game late. I think they do it again, 7.5 on the road. I think Dallas keeps it within a touchdown or less. It may be a game that's like a 13-point game, and Dallas scores with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter to get it to 6. I would take Dallas on the point spread and Philly to win. All right, next game in that window, next and last game in that window, the New York Jets taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Jets 3-6. Cardinals 5-4 on a 3-game heater right now, playing really good football. Kyler Murray and the guys. The Jets got their first win in a while after losing 5 straight. They beat the Houston Texans, who played a terrible, atrocious game. Aaron Rodgers played a good half of football in that game. He looked like garbage, hot garbage in the first half, but looked good in the second half. Jets did enough to pull out the victory. I like Arizona in this game. I think it's almost silly that the Jets are a 1.5-point favorite against Arizona because Arizona's a better football team than the Jets, and I think they prove it today. Detroit Lions, the hottest team in the league, even though, the Chiefs are undefeated. They're not playing like the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have been dominant. They go on the road to take on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Stroud looked like doo-doo butter last week. He did not look good at all. Nothing about Houston Texans looked good in that game against the Jets. The O-line was abysmal, and it really hurt Stroud. He had injuries at receiver that really hurt Stroud. 3.5-point underdog at home. I think Detroit keeps rolling. Just give me Detroit in this game. I think they win by a touchdown or more in Houston. All right, so the last game I'm going to talk about is Monday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins coming in a miserable 2-6 against the 4-4 Los Angeles Rams. But the Dolphins, you got to nearly win out here. You got to at least go 8-1 if you want a chance to make the playoffs. 8-1, I think, would give you a pretty good chance. Last 2 weeks since Tua's come back from the concussion, offensively, the Dolphins have been really good. 27 points, enough to win both of those games. Tua was excellent last week in Buffalo, which is something he hasn't been often. He's been horrible against Buffalo, but he was excellent last week against Buffalo, and it still wasn't enough to win because at the end of the day, the defense has been trashed the last 2 weeks, partially because of injuries. And the defense actually held it together when Tua was out, but the offense was scoring 10 points a game, and they went 1-3 in his absence. So now that he's back, offense playing well, defense can't stop a nosebleed. So hopefully they get Zach Sealer and a couple other guys back on defense, and Holland back, hopefully. Some things that'll help them on the defensive end. They're going to need it because Matthew Stafford's on fire, man. He's been really good. He's got Cooper Kupp, and he's got Puka Nacua back. So those guys missed a couple games. They're back. They're going to put up a lot of points on that Miami defense. I have no questions about that. Matthew Stafford, Puka, and all of those guys. 1.5-point favorite the Rams are at home. Rams don't have the greatest home field advantage. I'm sure Miami's going to have a lot of fans in SoFi. I was there last year against the Chargers, the first game of the year. A lot of Miami, a lot of aqua and orange in SoFi. So expect a lot of aqua and orange again in SoFi against the Rams. y'all know I want to pick the Dolphins in this game, but I want to. But I think this is going to be a really close game, and I think the defense probably blows the third game in a row. I think Miami probably scores 27, 28 points again. I think Tua probably plays well again. And I think the Rams probably still win this game because I think Matthew Stafford is going to hit those receivers, and I think that secondary is going to offer very little resistance. I don't trust the defense right now. So if I was betting this game, I would take the Rams 1.5 point favorite. And obviously I'm taking them with this, a 1.5 point favorite. I pick them to win the game outright. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm right about most of my other picks, but I hope I'm wrong about this one, obviously being a Dolphins fan. But I think the Rams, they find a way to win something like 34-28, 34-31 maybe. All right, so let me know down in the comment section what you think about the picks. And I will see y'all later. Peace and football. Enjoy your NFL Sunday, people.